Hi Ravens! Today we're going to focus on organizing your evidence and beginning to put your thoughts together in paragraphs. We're going to start by working on our body paragraphs, and that's going to focus on the problem and the solution. We're doing explanatory writing, so your goal is to explain the problem and the solution to the reader. The reader is someone who doesn't know anything about your country's problems, so it's your job to teach them about that. The first issue that we're going to write about is water. In order to do that, we're going to take all of the information we've gathered and we're going to put them into different buckets. The first thing that I want you to do is to take a look at your notes and your feasted evidence. So if I was to go back and look at my evidence, I can see right here that my evidence talks a lot about access to safe drinking water, and it talks a lot about infrastructure. So these are some of the things that I found that were really important to look at. So safe drinking water. Many people are moving into the city, urbanization. There's not enough money to build infrastructure, and there's a problem with improved settlements. So when I look at my evidence or my explanation of the different evidence that I gathered, what I'm realizing is that infrastructure is a really big problem in my country. So after looking at all of the different pieces of evidence that I've gathered, these are the things that I came up with. So bucket number one would be cost of infrastructure. One of the reasons that infrastructure is such a big problem in Ghana is that they don't have the money to build the infrastructure. Another problem is diseases from contaminated water. And my final problem is spending time walking to water. So basically people are spending way too much time, women and children especially, are spending way too much time walking to water, which means that they can't be productive in other ways. And these are all the buckets. So what I want you to do right now is I would like for you to take some time right now and organize your country's water problems into 3 buckets. You're going to do this all together with your group. So here are some examples. Contamination. Maybe your problems are contamination, like by salt from rising sea levels or fecal matter, or by oil from tankers used to transport oil and water. Maybe your problems are lack of water, like climate change or drought, or the pumps and wells are broken. So your countries may have other issues. I want you right now to choose the top 3 issues and to organize them into separate buckets with your whole group. So I'm going to ask you to pause right now and go ahead and do that. Okay, now that I've done that, here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to start taking my information and I'm going to organize each bucket into a paragraph that starts with a topic sentence. Here's how you're going to organize your writing today. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to write a claim, something that you want to support with reasons, evidence, and explanation. You're going to take your bucket and you're going to write down the topic of it. You're going to give reason 1, a topic sentence for this paragraph. What is one reason that you're going to explain in this paragraph? Evidence, facts, examples, anecdotes, studies, statistics, testimony, and definitions. Explanation, why does this evidence support or contribute to the reason? And a clincher. You're going to wrap up the idea of the paragraph and connect it back to your controlling idea. How does this paragraph support the larger argument? So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the information on the previous page and I'm going to start breaking it down for you. So the first thing I have is I have my claim. Today I'm going to give you that claim. I want you to literally take this sentence and I want you to write it down in these exact words at the top of a fresh page in your notebook. Lack of a clean, sustainable water source contributes to poverty in Ghana. All you're going to do is you're going to change that last word. Pause right now and go ahead and do that. Okay. Now I'm going to choose my first bucket. So my first bucket, the one that I'm going to write about today, is cost of infrastructure. You can choose to write about a different bucket, but I'm just going to write out that word, my bucket topic, cost of infrastructure. That's the next thing I'm going to do. So why don't you pause really quick and go ahead and choose which bucket you would like to use today. Okay. Now I'm going to give you my reason number one, the reason that this causes or this contributes to poverty. So it's a topic sentence for the paragraph. What is one reason that you're going to explain in this paragraph? So the reason that I'm going to explain is this. The high cost of infrastructure for clean water to cities causes Ghanaians to remain poor. Cities in Ghana are growing too quickly, and the infrastructure to provide water is not keeping up with the pace of urbanization. So basically, this sentence is explaining how infrastructure is really what is making Ghanaians stay poor. So I want you to find a reason why your bucket choice makes your country people stay poor. And I would like you to write that first topic sentence. Go ahead and pause again and do that. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with my evidence. When I come up with my evidence, I want to make sure that the evidence I choose is going to support the fact that infrastructure is a problem because Ghanaians are moving into cities too fast. And here is what I found to do that. So I have a few pieces of evidence that I'm going to talk about in this section. Some of them are facts, some of them are statistics, and some of the things are actually paraphrased. That means that I put them into my own words. So the thing that I start out with is this, and the reason that I start out with this statistic is because it really struck me when I read it, and I felt like it would really strike the reader. So according to Native Energy, more than 50% of the 2.1 million residents of the capital city, Accra, don't have clean water in their households. So in the beginning, I'm telling you where that source is, and then I'm using this percentage and this statistic to really get you to realize how many people don't have water. As I keep going, I really explain and paraphrase other information to help us understand that. But since it's still evidence that I'm paraphrasing, it's going to remain blue. The problem is that they don't have the money to build the infrastructure to have improved water systems like piped water in their houses. They also don't have the money for other solutions such as rainwater, harvesting equipment, or wells. And I got this information from water.org. I did not make it up. I'm just taking the evidence and explaining to you what it says. Instead, they have to buy water from private sellers. So all of this information is going to fit into my evidence. And it is all kind of stacked one on top of the other because it really helps the reader understand this part. Let's move this up a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my really short explanation. I'm going to explain why this evidence supports or contributes to my reason. And here is why. So this means basically the fact that they have to buy water from private sellers. This means that the poorest people who can least afford it pay the most. Because they are paying so much for water, they don't have money to spend on food, shelter, education, or investment in businesses that could increase their income. So all of this, the problem with water, the problem with the infrastructure, all of this means that they have to spend money just on buying water, which means that they can't buy and pay for other things. In my explanation, I'm just helping you make sense of this, and I'm also making sense of this at the same time. I'm going to have you pause right now, and I want you to go ahead and write your evidence and then write your explanation and come back when you're ready. All right. The final thing I'm going to do in this paragraph is I'm going to write my clincher. I'm going to wrap up the idea of the paragraph and connect it back to your controlling idea. How does this paragraph support the larger argument? So in this case, my larger argument is that lack of clean, sustainable water sources contributes to poverty in Ghana. So I'm going to just come back to that idea. So the high price of purchased water contributes to keeping them in poverty. This is a clincher because it's basically just summing up my idea. So I'm going to read it to you one time through. So cost of infrastructure. Notice how all of this really all supports that the cost of infrastructure is causing poverty. The high cost of infrastructure for clean water to cities causes Ghanaians to remain poor. Cities in Ghana are growing too quickly, and the infrastructure to provide water is not keeping up with the pace of urbanization. According to Native Energy, more than 50% of the 2.1 million residents of the capital city, Accra, don't have clean water in their households. The problem is that they don't have the money to build the infrastructure to have improved water systems like piped water in their houses. They also don't have the money for other solutions such as rainwater harvesting equipment or wells. Instead, they have to buy water from private sellers. This means the poorest people can least afford it, pay the most. Because they are paying so much for water, they don't have money to spend on food, shelter, education, or investment in businesses that can increase their income. The high price of purchased water contributes to keeping them in poverty. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and make sure that you have this paragraph completed. You have all of the different parts. And if you finish, I'd love for you to go ahead and trade with a neighbor and see if there are any things that you could add or change or include. If you finish this paragraph and you still have time, feel free to choose another bucket and make sense of that information as well. Please let myself or Ms. Arvidsson know if you need any extra help. Thanks. Good luck.